This one's from Darth Wolf, and he says, "Well done, Net. You have grown your Jedi Master beard." Well, that's weird, because you see, I'm a Sith. All right, I'm back. What's up, my Net Soldiers? I'm the Net Alliance. Today I'm going to be answering the questions you guys left on the last Q&A. This is Q&A 11. If you want to see your questions answered in the next Q&A, which will be next week, make sure to leave a comment below. Ask me a question. It can be anything. It can be Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. It can be just about life things. It can be about video games. It can be about anything besides Alvin and the Chipmunks. Just make sure to leave the question in the comments below. I guess without further ado, let's begin. For our first question, we have Darth Diego, and he asks, Net, do you have an Instagram or a Snapchat? I do not have an Instagram, but I do have a Twitter. I have a Snapchat. There you go. And I have an Xbox Club. There's also a Facebook page. All that stuff is in the description if you want to go check that out. Primarily, if I'm going to respond to fans, it's going to be on Twitter. So if you want to send me a tweet, go for it. But I don't really use Twitter much either, so I guess maybe Snapchat would be the best way. So like I said, the links to all that stuff is going to be in the description below, or just type in whatever shows up on the screen here. Next one we have from Darth Venom. He asks, what is your favorite episode arc from the Clone Wars? I would probably say the Clone Wars animated series. My favorite arc is probably the one with Darth Maul and Savage and how they take over Mandalore, and then like Sidious comes, kicks their butt. I think it's a very fun scene, I gotta say. So that's the one I would choose, I guess. This next one we have from Comtronic, and he asks, why is Disney ignoring the prequels? Now, I believe Disney is ignoring the prequels because they fear the power it holds. Do you know what I mean? No, but the truth is, the reason why they're actually avoiding doing prequel stuff and why you don't see prequels anywhere, why the Clone Wars have pretty much just been pushed aside and Rebels had taken over its spot, is because the Galactic Civil War is kind of where the universe of the original trilogy relies, and that's where that's supposed to be. Disney believes that that's the only time period that people really care about, and I can't agree with that, honestly, because one of my favorite things about Star Wars is the Clone Wars. I personally prefer Clone Wars over the Galactic Civil War. I think droids and clones are cooler than stormtroopers and rebels. Now that might just be me, but I'm betting a lot of other people out there believe the same. But ultimately it comes down to this. Disney sees that the original trilogy is more loved by all the fans. I don't know how much I can say that about myself. Don't get me wrong, when it comes down to it, I would say that the original films are just overall better. However, that does not mean the prequel films aren't entertaining. And I would say, especially Star Wars Episode 3, that one is probably the most entertaining out of all the films so far. So I think that's why they kind of repeated the cycle. They're going back in time, essentially. It's also kind of why I think, since Star Wars Episode 7 is kind of a remake or a fan fiction of Star Wars Episode 4, you can't just say it's for effect. You know, it mirrors the fourth film, but it's not the fourth film. And it's like, no, it's one thing to pay off parallels. Like, think about how Anakin blew up the ship in the beginning of Episode 1, Luke blew up the Death Star in the beginning of Episode 4. That's a parallel. You know, that doesn't have to actually be there, but that's okay. You can kind of carry that over. But when you have so many different things that kind of copy, you're not doing parallels anymore. You're literally mirroring the movie. And of course you can distort that mirror to kind of make it look a little different, but essentially that's what it is. So ultimately what Disney did was they remade the fourth film, so now they can kind of create off of that film. But they also allowed the original trilogy, which apparently everyone loves, and the prequel trilogy, which apparently everybody hates, although I would beg to differ. I like both trilogies. I don't know why people have to put them against each other. They're part of the same universe, especially considering, like, I love the Jedi Order. I love all the different Jedi. I love the era. It feels like a rich, fleshed out world compared to the original trilogy, which kind of just followed this path. At least the prequels kind of made the world more massive, or I should say the universe more massive. So I would definitely say it's kind of sad to see the prequels get left behind. But the true reason is Disney does not want to associate themselves with the prequels because of the bad press it got at the time. So they're just going back to the drawing board and restarting over, and that's what Episode 7 essentially is. So there you go. Next one we have from Dennis. He asks, what is your favorite James Bond movie? Now here's the thing, I'm not a huge fan of James Bond films. Sorry. I mean, they're all right, but they're all right. You know, I don't think they're that great of films. In fact, the newer ones, they're okay. All right. You know, the thing is with James Bond, the James Bond to me is Pierce Brosnan. You know, I understand some people love Sean Connery. He's the original James Bond. People like Daniel Craig. You know, they love him very much. He's kind of like the, I guess you could call the Christian Bale of Batman, or maybe you can call him the Ben Affleck of Batman now. But I don't know. Essentially, when it comes down to is my favorite one is Pierce Brosnan. He's the one that was kind of my James Bond growing up. So I'd say that when it comes down to it, my favorite one is Tomorrow Never Dies. I think that's the one with Halle Berry. Whatever one has Halle Berry in, that's my favorite. Not because of Halle Berry, but she was still hot in that too, if I remember. I haven't seen that film in a while. It kind of jumped the shark. Was when it was like that giant tidal wave. He was like surfing the tidal wave. That might have been a little jump in the shark, but besides that, I don't really care. It was a fun film, so I liked it. Next question we have from Xmastastic, and he asks, do you think Rogue One could be better than The Force Awakens? I personally think it's possible. Well, I think it's possible too. The Force Awakens has gotten a lot of flack, but it's also gotten a lot of praise. I saw a lot of videos of people kind of talking about how the sequel trilogy, which is episode 7 is the beginning of, is kind of like gonna redeem the prequels, you know, because the prequels are so bad. And honestly, like I said earlier in the video, the prequels are fun films, so I don't understand why that all gets pushed aside when it comes down to it. Can Rogue One be better than episode 7? And I would say, yeah, I think that this is going to decide how good spin-offs are going to be, or how many we're even going to see. That's why Rogue One is important here. You know, it's one thing to be like episode 7 because, you know, that's kind of like bringing us back into the Star Wars universe. So that has to not mess up. And I guess it depends on your opinion if you think it messed up or not. But when it comes down to it, it did pretty good. You can probably say because of the box office was like one of the highest records of all time. You can say it did pretty good. So the important thing about Rogue One is that that's not based on anything. That's not part of our main saga. That's its own spin-off story. So this has to do good. Essentially, this is riding on all of the spin-off films. If this does terrible, guess what? We're gonna see a lot less spin-off films. But because it is Star Wars, and it has a pretty interesting story, and although it's a story I never really cared to ask, you know, like when I watched episode 4, I never thought to myself, I wonder how they got those plans. You know, some people might have, but for me, I never really cared. But I'm okay with the story. I think it's pretty interesting, so I'm excited for it. It's coming out in a few days here, so let me know if you're excited for it in the comments below. Let's move on to the next question. But just to sum it all up real quick for you, Rogue One has to be good. It doesn't have a choice. It doesn't necessarily have to be better than The Force Awakens, but I believe it will be. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Next video we have from a simple man. He asked, great video. Have you done a gaming setup video? Not yet. I've kind of dabbled in that a little bit in the past with my Surface Book, and then also when I was building this PC you see right there. I'm gonna be building a new PC very soon once new parts come in. Once the 7700K drops, I might consider picking that up and building a new build. I'll consider doing one in the future. If you guys really wanna see it, let me know in the comments below. I might consider doing it. Next one we have from Obi-Wan0816 Star Wars, and he said, what is your favorite color? My favorite color is, see the background, see that right there, that color? That's orange. So essentially my favorite color is orange, but I do like blue. I like, as you notice from my channel is actually neutral colors, black and white. I just kind of evolved from that. Originally my channel was orange, white, and blue, and now it's white, black, with a hint of like yellow, gold type of color to it. I changed it around last year at some point, so that's why it is the way it is. I've considered changing it for the new year, but we'll see how that goes. Next one we have from Mr. Cheesebush. So let's see, who is your favorite chipmunk from Alvin and the Chipmunks? My favorite chipmunk is Alvin because he's the leader and he's just cool. You know, I'm pretty glad I didn't have that one question though. Please rank the Alvin and Chipmunks movies. I hate you guys. Rounding up our last question, this one is from Felipe the Legend, and he asks, never mind, you want more breasts. Now what this refers to is when I had my top sexiest girls Q&A, when it comes down to it, I'm more of a breast man. So there you go. So I guess, let me know, you're more of a breast or a butt man. Let me know in the comments below. Or if you're a girl, are you more of a butt or a chest girl? I guess that's what girls look for? I don't know. But that's it for now, guys. Please make sure to leave your questions in the comments below. You may just be featured in the next Q&A. Also, remember to like, subscribe if you enjoy my content, of course. And love you guys. You rock. Almost at 6,000 subs. So keep up the good work. Keep sharing my stuff. I appreciate it. You guys rock. And good night.